Hi everyone, Jon and Jake here from All Miniatures Great and Small, and today we're going to be talking about Star Wars Legion. We filmed some unboxings, we filmed a battle report. I'm not sure if this will go up before or after the battle report, but this video we're just going to have a chat about the rules and what we think about the game so far. We've played like maybe 2.5, 3 games so far. And we've played with almost all of the units that are out. I think we played with all of the units that are out as of the time we're filming this. And then we'll talk about our opinions of the game and kind of go over the major phases. The first thing is, what is Star Wars Legion? It is a 32mm heroically scaled tabletop skirmish game. So it's not like Star Wars Assault, which is more kind of RPG on a tiny little cardboard map. This is more like Warhammer.
Yeah.
But the mechanics are different enough that it definitely has a different flavor. So, Jake, for you, playing this game now, what's the biggest standout or difference between this game and other tabletop skirmish games like this, like Warhammer 40K, that jumps out to you?
It seems to be really well balanced, just right off the bat. Like, you can tell even when you look at stats. Like, I know we don't have a whole lot of variety in units yet, but even when you're just looking, like, you compare the Rebel Soldier to the Stormtrooper, you can tell just how nice that balance is, which is very nice, especially for you 40K players out there. Sometimes, right, when you get matched up, you almost know you're going to lose as soon as you set up your army. So it's just very nice that when you see this right now, you're like, oh, this is easily...
Yeah. But that may be, we just have 2 armies in Legion.
Yeah.
And we only have 1 troop unit each, so
yeah. And it's right, it's nowhere
easy
to the
balance.
Yeah, it's nowhere to the complexity of 40Ks now, but I really like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That is attractive. I think the biggest difference for me is alternating activation in a turn.
Yeah.
A lot of games like Warhammer 40K, it's I go, you go. You move your whole army, you shoot your whole army, and then you remove swaths of my army, and then I go and try to do the same thing to you, back and forth. Whereas this game, you alternate activation. So one squad goes, your squad goes, and we're back and forth.
Which I really like, because it feels like the battle's actually happening at the same time. Where it feels like, since we're using 40K for our example, right, one side going, it always feels like one side's ambushing the other, and it just keeps kind of jumping.
And the other person doesn't have much to do during that turn. I mean, you're going to be rolling defense some saves and stuff like that, but here you're kind of engaged with it. So I do like that aspect, but let's start talking about the top of the game, the beginning of the game, which is this game introduces an interesting command element. So as a commander, you have a command deck that you play, and if you have a named hero like Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker, you can put in special command cards that apply to them that give you like cool bonuses.
Yeah.
And then every turn you kind of draw off, and the person who basically picks the order that's the fastest, that's like ordering the least number of guys around, they get to activate a unit first. And then you have that neat mechanic of I can give orders to people who are around my commander, or randomly give orders to a unit, which I'm not sure exactly who might go first because they're out of command distance. So it captures kind of that fog of command, fog of war, and gives you some control around your commander if you want it.
Yeah, I definitely really like that aspect a lot too, and I feel like, I won't spoil anything for our battle report for you guys if you haven't seen that yet, but I feel like you definitely had the upper hand just on me as far as command cards went. When you guys watch that game, you'll kind of notice. I never said anything about it, but now that I think back on it, I think you edged me out. Like I was forced to play certain cards at certain times, and you just edged me out. So there is definitely a strategy to that, and it helps a lot, for sure.
And it'll help, too, that when we get more commanders, and you'll have more options as far as what's in the command deck, which will be cool. There's some generic command cards, and then there's some that are Darth Vader specific or Luke specific, which are kind of cool. So I like that aspect of it, but that also brings up an area that I don't necessarily like, and it's because the game is limited so far as an Empire or Rebel player, you only have one commander option. So Darth Vader is leading my army every single time I play.
Yeah.
He's a busy guy. He's on every single battlefield, and so is Luke somehow. So there are no rebels fighting anyplace else in the Star Wars Legion universe if they don't have Luke or Darth Vader leading them. that's going to get better when they add Leia and Han Solo and
Yeah.
General Veers, which we already have, but he's not painted yet. But still, it's like these. I want a generic. Give me a generic Rebel commander, and give me a generic, Stormtrooper commander.
Yeah, someone who's like 60 points or something like that, and just has a few different buffs, and isn't necessarily a Force user.
Because I like to come up with my own narrative sometimes. I want to tell my own story in the Star Wars universe, not necessarily Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker's story.
Yes.
So I would like to see that, but I realize too those guys are iconic, so you're gonna have them in the starter box. But,
Oh yeah.
So I'll throw that out there too. It's I do like that, but we do need some more variety in the HQ slot, the command slot. So after you do the command, though, then you alternate activation. We've already kind of talked about that, but that really gives you some nice strategic choices on the battlefield. Like, do you go with the guy you know you're going to be able to activate, or do you risk drawing a token out of your command pool and getting the unit you want, or that totally screwing over your plan and getting the unit you don't want?
Well, and the nice thing too is once you have more troops, because we don't have the most troops, but just being able to, when you throw out that troop token, just putting it kind of any troop you want is a big deal. Especially if you take all your unit actions and you put them on all the special units, so like your ATST and then your bikes, and all that's left is your troops, then you know exactly what's going to happen. So you can definitely plan it out easily like that.
And some units, some command cards, they only let you put orders on troops. And so yes, with alternating activation, I think that opens up some cool strategy you might not see in other games. Like I really wanted to activate Darth Vader first to hit something at the very beginning before Luke can hit him back or something like that. You want to make sure that you've got your order tokens in the right spot, which is cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's talk about the movement mechanic. So the movement mechanic, you use the little range rulers.
Yeah, these little guys.
Kind of similar to the Star Wars Armada range thing, because it's got that pivot joint in the middle, and there's different lengths, so your units just kind of slot right in, which is kind of cool. And then the vehicles have guides on the front and back, so they can go forwards or backwards for certain units. What do you think of that mechanic, the movement mechanic?
I'm still not quite sure how I feel about it. For infantry, I think it's fine. I don't mind it at all. It's a little odd and finicky, whereas opposed to in 40K we just use our inches and we just measure with our tape measure, and we can bend around stuff and easily. But the fact that this is such a straight line, it's very hard for me to say maneuver around this piece of terrain and go actually around it, and I have to make an awkward joint or figure out the distance in another manner.
Yeah, you have to follow the joint. Now, you don't have to always go to the end of the movement. You can stop anywhere along it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I just think that's a little weird. And the infantry don't really bother me. It's when you start having the slots, like all the vehicles have, where you have to put it in the slot. That just kind of annoys me. I feel like it slows down the game just a little bit because you have to plan, especially with the snowspeeder. You have to be very, very careful what he's landing on.
right.
Which is just kind of funny since he's flying, right?
And it's important because he has a compulsory move he has to make. The ATST, if he can't move, you can just say, all right, he's not going to move, he'll just shoot. But the snowspeeder has to move forward, and the speeder bikes are the same way. They have a compulsory move too.
Yeah, so it gets very finicky, especially when you get into bigger games and you fly your snowspeeder, let's say through a brawl that's happening, and all these models are super close. When I fly my snowspeeder in, not only do I have to worry about just the terrain that's in the middle of that, but then we have to start pushing guys aside like crazy. And so that mechanic I'm not crazy about. I'm not saying I know how to fix it, but it's just not ideal.
Yeah, and I think too, we were playing on a very small board, and we were using a lot of terrain because we like to use terrain. But on a 3x6, which is the recommended for bigger games, maybe you've got some range, so you can fire and loop around and do some stuff. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes and what happens with that. So. Yeah, I agree. I like the mechanic, the troop mechanic, where you just move the unit leader and then kind of place the guys all around that unit leader. You don't have to worry about measuring individual guys, which is nice.
Yeah.
So the movement has some pros and cons. I like that. But let's talk about the dodge and aim mechanic. So anyone who plays X-Wing is probably familiar with that. You can, one of your actions can be putting a dodge token next to your unit. One can be aiming. Dodge lets you cancel hits. Aiming lets you reroll your hits.
Yep.
What do you think about that as far as speeding up the gameplay?
I think it's good. Right, the reason those exist is because not all the time you don't want to be just constantly shooting and moving around, because that can get kind of boring with your troopers, right? So it offers something else for them to do, and I'm sure more actions will arise where they'll get to do even more. So it's good they're there. Dodge is especially fun if you have a lightsaber.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you get to deflect shots back, and that's awesome.
That is very cool.
But yeah, aim is interesting. The only thing that bugs me about aim is when you have a lightsaber. For some reason, I just think that's silly that he's aiming his lightsaber. Like,
Yeah.
you think a Dark Lord of the Sith would always be aiming his lightsaber.
Well, and Jake refers to in melee, you can put an aim. You can use an aim action. At least that's how we're interpreting the rules.
Yeah.
And then, your second action is an attack action, and then you can reroll some of your dice. But yeah, I don't have any problem with that. It's concentrating. I mean, you're concentrating to hit the target harder, or do you take a dodge token and you concentrate to avoid getting hit?
Yeah.
So I don't have any problem with that. Now the shooting mechanic, which is it's kind of like X-Wing if you're familiar with X-Wing, but it does have some subtle differences in that you build an attack pool with all these different dice, and then you roll the dice, you subtract your cover, and then you modify your hits, and then you roll your defense dice, and you modify your defense dice. There's a very specific flow chart in the order in which you roll and modify and take. What do you think about all that?
I think it's done pretty well. We only had like one confusion, I think, on our battle report, but I think we did it all pretty correctly. It's pretty simple. That was such one of the great things about X-Wing. You had a lot of cards that would modify things, but in the end, it was still relatively simple to follow. Yeah, so right, no complaints there.
Yeah, I like it. I think there's a lot of steps, but I think once you get used to the system,
I think it'll go fast.
It'll go a
The
lot
first
faster.
playthrough is going to be hard for anybody, but that's for most games, right?
But the mechanic, you roll your attacks, you subtract your cover, you modify your attack dice, and then the defender goes. I do like that the defender gets to roll one defense die per hit. So if you get 4 hits, the defender rolls 4 defense dice. 1 hit, 1 defense die.
Yeah.
Unlike X-Wing, where you get a set number, you get 1 hit through, and the defender's still rolling 3, 4 defense dice.
Yeah.
To cancel it out. I kind of like that, and it lets you like get a hit through. No spoilers, but I had one stormtrooper shoot the snowspeeder and managed to get a critical hit through.
It's like, of course.
Which he might not have if he would have had more dodge tokens. So I do like that, but I think it will get better as we play.
Oh, yeah.
Melee, what do you think about melee?
We've really only experimented with someone who's wielding a lightsaber.
Yep.
So I don't know if I can speak completely about melee in the awesome sense of it. But what I'm remembering of it, so far no complaints whatsoever. Especially if you have the Luke card that gets him to attack twice. That's pretty cool.
That's a good card. Yeah.
He can definitely mow down a full squad by himself easily.
Yeah. Lightsabers they roll like 6 dice or something like that.
Yes, mine's 6 dice. Mine's Luke's is 6 black, Vader's is 6 red.
Yeah.
Which is a big difference still.
Red is
the best. Yeah. But right, 6 black is nothing, especially when you add in Pierce, right? It's nothing to
Oh yeah. It's
put down
terrifying.
at all. And then Luke's surge is a critical, whereas Vader doesn't have a surge.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. So I do like, you said surge, I do like that mechanic. So one thing that we do is in Legion, the attack dice are 8-sided dice.
Yep.
And defense dice are 6-sided dice. And they use symbols instead of 1 through 8. But statistically, like the black attack die that has 8 sides, I think like 4 of them are hits. 1 of them is a surge, something like that. And some units can convert surges into different things. So there's a lot of variance in your dice rolls. It's not always like 33%, 50%, 66% you're going to hit. You can really have some variation there. Same thing with the defense dice, because even though there's 2 sets of defense dice, one of them's like the white dice are almost like a 5-up save in 40k.
Yeah, that's
because there's only like 2 successes on it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, there's a surge, which for rebels is a success. So yeah, you're only getting it's a 5-up save.
5-up save,
is
basically.
what it is on a rebel.
If you can convert the surge, which they can. Whereas the stormtroopers are awesome. They get like half of the red defense die as shields.
Yeah, so stormtroopers have basically
a 4-up save.
Yeah, 4-up save. Yeah, because their surge is not
their surge
protective,
is offensive, not defensive. So that's a really cool mechanic. The surge, the attack, the fact that you have a critical hit on the die lets you go through cover.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of I like having that granularity.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. It opens up the game. You can definitely tell when we get more units, these dice will become really helpful getting that granularity.
And it also opens up, like FFG could come out with a whole new color. Maybe you get blue defense dice or blue shooting dice that do something different. That's possible as well. Now we have white and red defense dice, but we don't have any black defense dice yet. Maybe we'll see that eventually.
Yeah, that's true.
So we do have that. Now the missions that we play, they have a cool mechanic where you have 3 or 4 cards and you draw like the deployment. It's like rolling deployment in 40K. Atmospheric effects like hostile environment or rapid reinforcements or limited visibility. So you have weather effects, you have deployment effects, and then you have mission effects. And the way you do it is you each choose some, and then you pull the ones you don't want until you're left with the mission that you're going to play. So you can get a lot of variation there. I like that. We haven't played with it too much, but it's kind of a cool way to do it. And to expand it, they just need to give us more cards.
Yeah, it's nice and easy.
So
easy for them to expand.
So overall, we don't want this video to be too long because we are not Star Wars Legion experts by any stretch of the imagination. But as far as this game goes, let me ask you a couple questions. One, for the price of admission, is this game worth it?
Oh yeah, the price is so good. I think retail the box is $90, right?
The core box set is $90, yeah.
Which is such a good deal, especially when you look at the upgrade packs. And if you add up all those upgrade packs into the box set, you're getting such an awesome deal. The dice, right? You're getting dice there.
Well, let me complain about that.
That is weird,
In the core set, you do not have enough dice to roll an attack, one attack completely for the unit in the core set.
Yeah.
For example, you only get 3 white attack dice, but a stormtrooper unit can fire 5 attack dice. So you're actually having to remember. So you need to buy another set of dice, which are like $15, or you need to buy a second core set, which is not a bad deal at all.
Yeah, and if you're really looking to stretch the deal too, on eBay you can find a brand new core set for $72.
Yeah,
It's the best one I saw.
So I mean, price-wise, the core set is great.
Yeah. So if you're looking to get in and you want to get in a lot, I would do 2 core sets, and that would give you everything you need.
And if you have a buddy, you can split the sides. Like Jake's doing Rebels and.
Yeah, I only want to do Rebels.
I'm probably doing both.
Yeah.
I think I painted. Yeah, I painted all.
Yeah, you painted all of these ones.
But yeah, so I like that, and even the price. Like I talked about it in my individual reviews. The AT-ST I think is the most expensive, and it's like $50.
Yeah.
40, 45 online if you can find it.
But it's a pretty amazing model.
It is, and compared to some other companies, it's quite reasonable.
Oh yeah, I just love seeing it on the board. It is very cool. That's the other great thing about this game is everything looks awesome.
Well, it's so iconic right now. You have the stuff that's in the movies,
Mm-hmm.
except maybe this guy. He's from the Clone War cartoons.
Well, yes, he's also. I played the Star Wars Battlefront 2 game. Regardless if you hate that game or not, the game looks beautiful, and it reminds me a lot of this because I see everything I see in that game, which is very cool. Even right down to the little walker. So that just is, I think, is awesome.
And I love the Snowspeeder. It's one of my favorite models.
Oh yeah.
Really
Snowspeeder looks awesome. And one thing, which I'm kind of interested, I don't know if you know this or not, but as far as terrain for the game goes and companies making terrain, it'd be very cool to see someone come out with scale models of like X-Wings for this scale, so you could fight over like a hangar of some sort, or have TIE fighters would be great, line of sight.
I've seen some of those in forums. The problem is this game I think scales out into like 1/50th scale, 152 or
something like that.
Where you can buy a 1/48 scale X-Wing, which is pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a big model. It's going to take up a And you're going to have scaling issues, like your blaster barely can shoot the length of an X-Wing on the table.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I've seen some cool tables on the forums, which are nice. And I got to say, too, one, you can use generic sci-fi terrain. I wouldn't recommend Gothic terrain, but like we have... Do you remember who... This was GameMat.eu, I think?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. You know, they have generators and crates. These are just kind of generic sci-fi things that work well.
Yeah.
But I've noticed a lot of 3D models being built just by gamers.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot for this game, more than almost anything else I've seen, where they're building like Tatooine huts and things like that. Just on their own, they just build it and play with it. They are coming out with terrain packs here, but you can really see where the gaming is going with those, do-it-yourself 3D modeling programs.
Yeah, it's very cool stuff. I would just love to see a big AT-AT on the table and fighting around an AT-AT.
Well, the problem is, it would be a big AT-AT.
Oh yeah, it'd be huge. It'd be massive. It'd probably be like somewhere around here.
Yeah.
But it would be very cool.
So I think he comes up to like right above the ankle or shin of an AT-AT. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it would be big. So that you can kind of preempt my question. Moving forward, what is a unit you would like to see? What is your favorite unit you'd like to see here?
Oh, that's a hard one. I know the X-Wings are so big. It would be very cool to see an X-Wing. Even just to come in for like a strafing run or something like that. It would be so cool. But if I couldn't have that, I really liked Rogue One. I personally think it's the best Star Wars movie to come out since 4, 5, and 6. And I would just like to see some of the characters from Rogue One, maybe leading your army. Something like that would be very cool.
I can see Krennic with some Death Troopers.
Krennic would be cool. Oh yeah, Death Troopers. Yeah, you reminded me. Death Troopers are my favorite. Like if I were to buy, I would buy some into some Empire if I could see some Death Troopers.
Death Troopers,
yeah,
troops.
Because they are so cool.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of Scarif themed boards too, with beach and sand and palm trees.
Yeah, and it'd just be so cool to have Jyn Erso leading all of the rebels.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that FFG can do.
Yeah.
And hopefully looking at the models that they've come out with for Star Wars Assault tells us what they could come out with here. So that would be really cool. As far as me, I'm not sure what I'd want to see. I'd like to see Death Troopers.
Yeah.
Those guys would be really cool. The Shore Troopers from Rogue One, those guys are cool.
Every type of trooper, really. I feel like...
Yeah, we could use more troopers.
Yeah.
Snow Troopers are already coming, which I like. So, we could actually have some of the rebels that are look more like the Scarif rebels, because some of them had like hard helmets, army helmets. And it would be cool. So, there you go, guys. That's our short discussion for Star Wars Legion.
Oh, sorry. One quick question for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this now, but will they be making any of the models from like the prequels? So like clone troopers?
They have stayed away from that so far.
Yeah.
But I think for this game, if this game is going to compete with 40K, you need more than 2 armies.
Yeah.
And to be honest,
Scum.
I would not be. Well, I guess they could throw Scum, but what are you going to have? Bounty hunters and Jabba the Hutt. And,
At most it would be 3, which still isn't a whole lot.
Not a lot. Not when 40K has 15.
Something like that. Yeah.
So I think if this is going to be a long-term game, you're going to have to eventually go there. And if FFG, if you're watching, I'd love to see a clone era army.
Yeah.
From the Clone
Clones
Wars.
are just so cool. I would easily make a clone army.
I mean, they are colorful, whereas the Empire is kind of black and white, monochromatic. They have such cool equipment.
You can have Rex leading your army. There's so many cool clones.
You can have Rex.
There's so many cool iconic clones.
I like to imagine this guy or this guy's Rex.
Yeah.
Old Rex from the Rebellion.
He does look like it in the Star Wars Rebels show.
And to be honest, even the Separatists, the droid armies, the droids have a lot of cool equipment. You can have that rolling tank and the walking spider tank.
They definitely like super battle droids.
And then you could have like a Wookiee army for
Wookiees would be cool, yeah.
Led by Yoda.
Like Count Dooku, like a Darth Maul would be very cool.
There's a lot you could do with who knows, the Gungans. I think the Gungans would be maybe preferable to the Ewoks. I don't know, is that blasphemy? But I don't know. Not Jar Jar, mind you. But
you're getting the Jar Jar character.
But I would not be adverse to that. And I want to see those, to be honest, ahead of First Order the Resistance.
Yeah, I would like to see a Ray. I think a Ray would be awesome.
A Ray would be cool. Some of it would be cool, but I don't know. First
Yeah.
Order, it's kind of like wannabe Empire. Now I will give this the First Order does have the cool shock stormtroopers with
They
the
do.
shock batons.
Yeah.
Those would be pretty cool.
Those would be awesome.
But,
I would like to see Anakin and Obi-Wan. That would be cool.
Oh, that'd be
Because I really liked the Clone Wars, the cartoon series, not the movie. There's a definite distinction between those. But in the cartoon series, they was just so cool. It was way better than all of the prequels stacked together. So that would be a very cool themed army. I can think of a lot of very cool themed armies.
and you have all the characters from Star Wars Rebels too that could be
Yeah.
here too.
Yeah.
So there's so much. So if you can't tell, I think we're both excited about the game. It was a lot of fun. I can't wait to play some more and paint some more. But I am kind of a little worried that the stuff is trickling out really slow.
Yeah.
It's like 2 or 3 releases. If you're an active 40K player, you know it's just been an avalanche of stuff for the last 2 years. There's always something every month.
Oh yeah.
Not just one release. It's like armies.
Yeah, it's impossible to keep up with. It's pretty crazy.
But it has its advantages, and that's just not going to be this game. This game is going to have dribbles of stuff. And,
Yeah.
I think we're getting Princess Leia, Han Solo, Rebel fleet troopers, snow troopers, and General Veers.
I could imagine in about 2 years, I think you would have a solid mix.
I'd hope so.
Yeah.
So FFG, if you're listening, don't let us down. All right, so there you go, guys. That's our discussion about Star Wars Legion, our review. Please let us know what you think about the game down below. Do you like it? What do you think about our comments? Are we totally off base, or do you agree? We'd love to hear from you. As always, please check us out on Facebook, All Miniatures Great Small, where you can see what we're up to. And we thank you for watching, and always keep on wargaming.